What's going on, guys? T2RX6 here, and I said just at the end of this video I'd see you next week, but I lied because I totally forgot that everybody's been requesting to see my customs, or some of my customs, and a lot of this stuff I do is kind of like repaints and touch-ups and stuff like that, like minor repaints, minor touch-ups, maybe a different head, but I do have some full-on redos of a character, repaints. And I just thought I'd show some of them, some of the ones that I like more. There's other ones that are lying around that, I don't know, I don't really feel the need to show very much. But pretty much no figure I have is safe for painting, for not getting extra paint. For instance, you guys probably saw this one before if you've been watching my channel. This is the Fans Project Warcry. Originally what I was doing was trying to just take off the combiner crap on the front of the Jeep here, or the Hummer I should say, and yeah, it left big holes right in there, so improvising I ended up putting a brush guard on, giving them some black paint to hide what I couldn't really hide there, and yeah, that was the ultimate end result. So even my masterpiece 10 Optimus Prime, the Japanese version, which cost a ridiculous amount of money when I first got him, I painted him within the first week. Well, I painted some things. He needed some lights. You guys may recognize this here. This is the TFC Blackbird / Silverbolt. So this is him in his completely stock form here. This is actually the second one I own. Yeah, not all that exciting. I do like the upgrades set they have coming out for him, and I'll probably buy it. But I also wanted to keep the one that I was completely customizing myself, which I showed you the chest mod and stuff for. But I've gone ahead and kind of gave him some gold antennas here. These parts are just add-on parts from Megatron 31 to give him some blue light piping here. Let's get some more light on here. Whoa, blue light piping and dust that fell out of this lamp because it always looks at the ceiling. Gross. Anyway, yeah, blue light piping and red visor, and I gotta say, the red visor kind of makes this guy for me. I just really like how he looks with the red visor. And the gold antennas just look way better than those translucent yellow ones. Going on to kind of some more substantial stuff. These are kind of my repaints. So this is one everybody really seems to want to see quite a bit. This is my Wheeljack. This actually is from when I first got back into collecting. The paint's a little bit rough there, as you can see. It's really my first attempt at repainting a full figure. And this is the Master Collector, I think it was, upgrade parts. For the Wheeljack, and that gave you the new front end to make it look more like a Lancia. Now I went the extra mile and took out the headlights and filled them on in and sanded it just to kind of give it that more Lancia look. And frankly, I really like this one more than the actual Hasbro released one. But yeah, it's not bad, and the Hasbro one's not bad. This one's just a lot better, but I could totally do this one way better now than I could when I first did this. And I'm gonna show all these guys in their robot modes too afterwards. I figure we'll just start with the vehicle modes. This one, TFCon, or no, I'm sorry, not TFCon, BotCon, I think it was 2010 or 2011, had animated as their set, and the custom class had a custom Minerva. Which really wasn't a custom, because for the most part it was all cast in white and you put it together and painted a couple little things and put some stickers on. I really loved how that one turned out. Was really disappointed that I could not have one, so I just made it myself and had a friend of mine make up some stickers. Earl, if you're watching, thank you very much. Yeah, and then I took this up and put it in the TFCon contest. So this was actually an RC. If you look carefully somewhere, you can still see the RC pink still hiding in there, but pretty much took the entire thing apart and repainted it into my own Minerva, and I frankly think it looks better than the BotCon version. That may be just me being full of myself, but generally I didn't like how they did the antennas too much there. Let's go to a work in progress in vehicle or robot mode here. And the reason that this guy is a work in progress, this is the, who made it? Fans Toys, I think. I think they're the ones who made the Shockwave upgrade kit for Reveal the Shield Jazz. So I stripped him down and repainted him, and this is absolutely by far the worst piece of material to ever work with, this roof, because it's actually completely transparent plastic and it was just a nightmare. And unfortunately the paint I used advertised itself as acrylics and it looks really great, but it was enamels. Yeah, and it ended up screwing up my airbrush, and you can see that you got some kind of messed up parts of the paint here that I don't know, like water or something shot out. Well, here's the problem. With acrylics, you can mix them with alcohol or water to thin them down. Enamels, you need an actual thinner. So I mixed this paint with waters and stuff, and it ended up shooting big globs of paint at this guy and almost ruined him. And also in the process, his head got way too tight, and the ball joint got stuck. And actually, if you look real carefully there, you can see that the plastic just flat out broke off. So I had to glue this back together, but hopefully it'll go back to his vehicle mode. I haven't really tried because I was just so disappointed when this whole big piece flaked off. And I tried to put a Decepticon logo on here to hide it for a while, and I just didn't like how it worked. And when I took that off, all the paint ripped off with it, so I repainted this part with a brush, which is disappointing because I would rather avoid the brush and just use the airbrush. It's a much better looking finish in my opinion. But what can you do? Not all of them go the way you want them to. If you know me, you'll know I'm a huge fan of Gobots. This is Gobot Night Ranger. I would show you him in his robot mode, but I really can't because this one's so old and fragile and a couple pieces have started breaking on it. So motorcycle mode it is. I will show you his head though. So actually, for my first ever contest entry, I made my own Night Ranger from a knockoff Robot Masters Road Pig, I think his name was. Yeah, I really enjoyed making this guy. Just kind of cheated with the stickers though. The reason you can see the gradients in the stickers is because I took photos of these stickers that are on here and then made it with some sticker paper and printed it out. And that's the best I could do, but you know, it doesn't look too bad. And personally, I like how this guy looks. I think he ended up winning me first or second place in the contest, which was awesome because it was my first outing in a contest. And hey, it's always good to place well in a contest for your first time. Continuing with Gobots, possibly the one I am most proud of. This is a Revenge of the Fallen Ratchet, repainted as the Gobot Smallfoot. If you're not familiar with her, she was a red pickup truck that had a brush guard on the front, and so this immediately jumped out to me considering that it was that Hummer HUT, I think it is, which is technically a pickup truck, but they added all this brush guard stuff on here. So once I saw this, I thought it kind of looked cool and it reminded me of her, and I had a spare Jolt from Transformers Cybertron, and the head reminded me a lot of hers. So we'll see her again in her robot mode after. I love this one. This one's one of my favorites personally that I've ever done. This one was also a TFCon 2010, 2011, I forget. I want to say 10, I'm pretty sure it was 10. But this is Omega Spreem. I had just fairly recently seen Vangelis's review of his Omega Spreem and decided that I wanted one of my own but didn't want to pay all the money, so I took a Power Core Combiner undertow, gave him a full repaint, attached on some treads from RID. Man, I can't remember the bulldozer guy who made the chest shield and the head basically. And then this is actually a John Deere tractor toy that I found at Walmart that I cut up added some putty to kind of close it off, which is a little bit rough there, but it ended up making the front end of Spreem. And it's a funky, very odd tank type alt mode, and that's what the Action Master Supreme Spreem was a funky tank that looked almost identical to this. And yeah, I really like how this guy turned out as well. The colors are just so odd. And yeah, you'll see him in his robot mode too after. This is another work in progress. I can't really show the robot mode because he's not done, completely unpainted under there, and has no head or anything. And this is something that I kind of rushed a little too much, and you can see by the way the white is here. I really hate painting white, and I gotta go back and kind of clean this up, clean up the black and sharpen everything up a little bit. I don't know why I put the stickers on by the point I did. I was just, I guess, excited for it, and looking at it now, I'm like, there's still things that need to be done to this guy to actually make him pretty decent. But yeah, I really do like the police version of the Camaro, and I thought he would look pretty cool as Prowl. So I will definitely be going back to finish this guy, probably sooner than later, because I'm tired of seeing him on the shelf unfinished. So yeah, you won't see any more of this guy for today. And finally, the last one that I pulled out that I thought was worth showing is the Beast Hunter's Voyager Optimus Prime, repainted as Grimlock here. I pretty much designed him with the robot mode in mind, and then transformed him to a truck just to see what happened. And this was the end result here. Just noticing I didn't put any light colors on there. May go back and do that just to pull it out, but I kind of like how it looks with those black pieces. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so this is Optimus Prime turned Grimlock, and I really like these. So one final thing before we go on to robot modes. With Wheeljack, you do have extra pieces here that there's just pretty much nothing that you can do with in the kit. Just no places to store them. And one that's a teaser, only a little bit, but it's still technically part of a vehicle mode. There is something I am working on now. If you've heard me on Good Morning Cybertron, the podcast, that I am invited to sit in on and discuss. I kind of mentioned what's coming for this guy and just kind of wanted to show how his paint is coming. I think he's going to be pretty cool when he's finished. So let's get on to the actual robot modes. So we'll start with Wheeljack here, since he tends to be the biggest pain, but I really like how the kit makes him look in his robot mode here. The reason he's a big pain is because, well, these don't want to fall off now, but they fall off like crazy, so I don't know. Now that he's on camera, he wants to cooperate, I guess, so he looks better than he is, I suppose. Yeah, I really like this kit. It was cool. Fun to paint, but totally could do a way better job now, considering my experience. One that I forgot to show in vehicle mode, but that's okay. I might do a full review on this guy. This is actually a door vac Mugen caliber thing, and if you're not familiar with that, that is where Roadbuster came from. And this guy was all kinds of gray and white. You can see the gray joints here because he just is basically impossible to paint it without actually getting those without those rubbing off. So I just kind of left them gray like that. Let's see. If you look inside there, you can kind of see where it's still gray. Obviously parts where the paint has chipped a little bit. But yeah, Roadbuster. I'll try to take anything I have pictures of prior to painting. I'll put at the end of this too, just so you guys can see kind of the work in progress type pictures. Let's see, I said I wasn't going to transform Night Ranger, but I got brave and did it. And here he is with his contest counterpart. Now obviously the motorcycle's on the front with this guy instead of the back, but this guy looks kind of silly as is. So I didn't really feel that was all that big of a compromise there. Moving on, we'll go to the animated RC here, or I'm sorry, Minerva. And as you can see, unlike the BotCon one, my eyes are not recessed. And what these actually are nunchucks to a G.I. Joe toy. I can't remember which toy. But yeah, they are nunchucks that have been cut and ground down and then basically recessed into the sides of her head. And I just like the end result. So we'll move on to Smallfoot here. And you can see I do have the blue paint on the inside of her chest, which I really like. It hid away in her vehicle mode and then shows up for robot mode. The head is totally her head. If you're not familiar with the character, take a look at her. She's always was kind of like a tomboy basically. So yeah, I really liked how this one turned out. And I believe, let me scour around. Oh, there's two left. So here we've got Spreem, and I've actually got pictures from TFCon with him in his robot mode sitting next to Vangelis's Spreem, so that was really a lot of fun to get those photos. I'll put them at the end here. Yeah, the trick with this guy here, which makes that front treads thing, is it basically became a gun with parts forming. This is a knockoff, well not a knockoff, it is a punch-counter-punch gun that I had bought from someone who reproduced parts, and the color was just totally off, but it worked for Spreem. And I made it so you take this, you pop it out of here, you flip it over, and then this long connector peg that, you know, combines it in its vehicle mode, turns it into a fairly oversized weapon, but a weapon nonetheless, so there's something you can do with it. That hand doesn't hold it very well. This one does a much better job. Ball joint must be just a little bit tighter, and even that one is a little loose, but whatever. I usually just display him without this just because I like how he looks just sitting there. Let's bring this down a little here so you guys can see. So there we go. There's Spreem. And the last thing I have to show in his robot mode that you haven't already seen, well, you kind of already saw him, but this is the Grimlock that I did for a contest just recently, Next Prime Challenge. And absolutely, the Optimus Prime mold is one of the most fun molds I've ever worked on, just because there's really not a whole ton of rub points. So there's lots of really just cool things that you can do with it, and Grimlock I just think looks really good as a truck like this. I also, this head here, it's going to be hard to see, but this is actually still Optimus Prime's head. You can kind of see it from there, and all I did was take some putty and fill in the eyes and fill in between the two parts where his mouth was, and then just take a file and ground that down. And that ended up giving him the Grimlock face. And then for the rest of it here, you obviously had the crest that hung up for Optimus. And since the idea was the next Prime, I figured if Grimlock became the next Prime, he might be wearing his signature crown. So I added that. Unfortunately, the glue doesn't seem to be holding on this side very much anymore. I'm going to have to add a little more just so it doesn't stick out quite as much. But yeah, I absolutely love this build. It's one of my favorite ones to show on a shelf because it just looks really cool. And if you didn't notice, the halves of his arms totally look like Grimlock's head in dinosaur mode wrapped around his arm. So I didn't actually paint the back of it. I could have, given that red back there. But I really liked the idea of when he was reformatted, the two halves of the dino heads became his arms. So yeah, that was just kind of my take on it, and yeah, just a couple of my customs. So I'll put some of the pictures here of the work in progress and final pictures at the end for you guys to enjoy, hopefully. And now I will actually see you next week. Actually, here's just one more real quick that I did a quick touch up on. So this is the BotCon Metal Hawk, and he had that awful human head. I still have it. And what I did to this guy is popped off his feet and gave him some red feet, just 'cause I thought they looked better. And took a Cybertron hotshot head, put that on, kind of carved it down, and carved out a Generation Sky Shadow chest shield. Like, it's actually really quite thin in there, so he could actually transform into his jet mode, but that way he didn't have to sit around with that really bad looking head. So yeah, took some extra work. I can totally see why BotCon wouldn't have done it, but it looks much better this way. So anyway, see you guys next week.